This was originally the last 20 minutes of my last video why the MRM won't succeed. I clipped the last 20 minutes because I felt it made the video drag longer than necessary, and just due to how it is, I felt it could stand as its own video. So when I say in this video I am referring to my last video. I'm not sure if I am going to do another video on why the men's rights movement will not succeed, so let me just try to wrap up this video series. My gripe with the men's rights movement is that it doesn't care about men, thus the label is instantly a lie. You're not trying to establish equal rights for men. I hear the common retort that just because all we do is bitch at feminists, doesn't mean we don't care about men, but as we see from Nick here, from Men's Rights Edmonton, which I think now only consists of him, what we see from him is a confession. He only attacks feminism, for nerds' revenge on the popular kids or whatever. He doesn't really care about men, and he's just one self-proclaimed MRA coming out of the closet. Many others make it obvious when their biggest gripe is either statism or a return to traditional gender roles. These people don't care about men, and yet MRAs welcome these people in their circle. If you want your movement to actually be about fighting for the rights of men, kick these fucking backstabbing traitors to the curb. They are ultimately toxic to men. They'll throw women under the bus to strike at feminism, and they will throw men under the bus too, to strike at feminism. People like Nick and Feidelbergen don't believe in equality. You heard Nick say it, and I think Feidelbergen mentions his disbelief and disgust with the notion of equality in this video. But I know he's tweeted about it umpteen million times because we've gotten into a couple of arguments over it. If you are in a movement called the men's rights movement, then what kind of rights do you fight for? Do you fight for superior rights? Do you fight for inferior rights? Do you fight for equal rights? With terms like men's human rights, it's implied that you are fighting for equality, equal rights. People who want to spit on equality, calling it intellectual cotton candy, or like Feidelbergen says has no place outside of mathematics. These are people who say shit like this, are not fighting for equality, ergo not fighting for equal rights and equal treatment, therefore cannot be fighting for men's rights, unless men's rights is code word for male supremacy, or is just fine with having inferior rights, which wouldn't make sense. Anyone who openly claims they don't believe in equality, cannot be fighting for men's rights, so people in the men's rights movement should kick these fuckers to the curb. And I have seen a lot of bitching about there can be no equality between the sexes, coming from the manosphere, and you MRAs do nothing but look the other way, when you're not busy putting your arm around them and saying welcome to the movement my fellow feminist hater. This is the sort of thing that is meant when we say you don't care about men's rights, you only want to bitch about feminism. This is not some sort of grammatical sleight of hand, this isn't hollow fluff talk, it is a very serious and legit proclamation. Of course mental cases like this fuck up. People like this ass clown are really trying to state that the proclamation that you only bitch at feminism, you're not really concerned with men's rights is a straw man. It is not a straw man. If it were a straw man, why would it be used by MGTOW? I get that one could interpret that it is a straw man if the argument were only coming from feminists, but this proclamation is coming from MGTOW, as I have demonstrated with my rebuttal to Matt Forney's blog posts. His entire assault on feminism was based on his desire to restore traditional sex roles. He's angry that women are going to college. He's pissed off that women have self-esteem and have jobs. This man is bitching at feminism, oddly enough blaming them for shit that feminism has very little to do with. Women joining the workforce was mostly the result of economic circumstances, not ideology. He doesn't care about men, he's just bitching at feminists. Every goddamn tradcon among us that is pissed about men and or women breaking their traditional roles isn't fighting for men's rights, they're just bitching at feminism to restore traditional gender roles, and they don't care if trying to live out the 1850s gender roles is fucking men over in 2015. They don't care that it hurts men. They just want to return to traditional gender roles. Whatever track record traditionalism had does not change the fact trying to live like it's 1850 here in the 21st century is fucking men over really hard. Those who fail to acknowledge this even after you've explained it to them are nothing more than toxic ideologues or entitled housewives who want to secure their free ride, and the free ride of their daughters. All the libertarian extremists who will throw men under the bus in the blink of an eye, because they are only bitching at feminists because of big government, and the moment someone like me suggests organizing and petition government to recognize male domestic abuse, and to have a call for men's shelters, or a call to illegalize the women's only shelters for violating the 1964 Civil Rights Act, or at least for that violation, take away their tax exemption, just like government threatened to do to churches that refused interracial marriage for violating the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I forget what provision it is, but discrimination against race, sex, or sexual orientation removes you from eligibility for non-profit charity and government funding. The moment someone like me suggests these things and people start shooting these ideas down because helping men isn't worth it if the government gets involved or it risks raising their taxes. I also once brought up ending child-based welfare, for everything except daycare, which is not really a raising or lowering of the welfare distribution, but a reallocation of it, to force women to work, thereby ending their free ride off the state. I went into great detail of how this could work. I had a plan, just an idea, about adopting the Swedish and Norwegian parental leave, and showed articles about how this helped fathers. All of these ideas were shot down on the grounds of not my taxes, that's statism, that's leftism, that's Marxism. In other words, the fact all of these ideas, as they were presented, would help men, didn't fucking matter, because these anti-feminists didn't give a rat's ass about men. They just wanted to bash feminism because taxes, statism, leftism. They never gave a fuck about men and were willing to stand in opposition to anything that might help men. They don't care about men. They only hate feminism, and not because it hurts men. That's the pretentious feel-good politically acceptable reason to attack feminism. These people are our enemy. The proclamation that you don't care about men's rights, you only attack feminism is not a hollow shallow straw man. It is a very valid criticism, and I have shown here in this video, all those examples of how traditionalism and the traditionalist attitudes hurt men, hurt our ability to fight for equality, and downright enabled many feminist assaults on men. To completely ignore this, and just blame it all on feminism, just scapegoat it all on feminism, is an example of you don't care about men, you're only griping about feminism. Similarly, the proclamation that MRAs aren't doing anything, they're not getting anything done. Now this, depending on context, could be a completely invalid argument. After all, MGTOW hasn't done anything so far as changing laws. However, in the sense that I have made this proclamation, it is very valid. We MGTOW say avoid marriage and avoid having children in this environment. This is an act of doing something. I can't fix the divorce problem within my culture. But I will never face divorce. I have removed divorce as a possibility by avoiding marriage. That's MGTOW. I will not have my children taken away from me, nor will I be forced to pay child support, because I have no children. That's MGTOW. A huge part of MGTOW is altering thyself, both in perception of self, and in behavior. Avoiding gynocentric institutions that profit women at men's expenses, force men to risk well-being and sovereignty to women, is gynocentric, and we avoid this behavior. The traditionalists who either call themselves MRAs or are befriended as an ally by the MRAs continue to tell men that marriage is a perfectly acceptable choice for a man. Some go as far as to call it a man's duty. The critical G and rocking mystery off the top of my head, telling men they have to get married. They're cowards for running away from marriage, because not all women are like that. These scumbag pieces of shit are antithetical to the well-being of men. Anyone telling men to get married is as detrimental to the well-being of men as any hardcore radical feminist. Any man telling us MGTOW to stop discouraging men from getting married, are just as bad. These are examples of bashing feminism, while not giving a flying fuck about men, and thus ultimately hurting men, and therefore really being no less a threat to men than the feminists. MGTOW is largely about making personal decisions, changing your perception, and changing your behavior, to avoid and abandon harmful practices that feed women's empire, empower women, harm thyself, and harm thy fellow man. MGTOW is, in that regard, doing something, griping about how unfair an institution like modern Western marriage is, all the while saying it's okay to participate in it, it's okay to feed the machine, is detrimental to men. Some MRAs say we need to fix marriage, and us MGTOW say well it's not fixed yet, so don't get married. Tradcon MRAs say but you have to get married because population, and children, and marriage benefits. You can't avoid marriage, we just have to reform it. And the argument is what have you actually done? John the Other described the primary difference between MGTOW and MRA as reformers versus abandoners. MGTOW is abandoning the gynocentric institutions, while MRAs are participating in those institutions and claiming we need to reform it, some way, somehow, one day, maybe, hopefully. Look, until you got it all nice and reformed and fixed and working for us men, we MGTOW are out. We're not playing the game until you fix it. And telling men to go play the game while we work on fixing it, which translates to tweeting our discontent, is antithetical to men. It's like some roller coaster being damaged, and saying well you just have to take your chances, look for a cart that's on track and looks to be in good shape. You just keep riding it while we make phone calls and hopefully get a maintenance crew out here one day to fix it. You just have to look for the signs of a bad cart that might jump track. Just got to weed out the bad ones and find the right ones, because not all carts are broken. Not all carts are like that. Well, you know what, as fun as being on a roller coaster might be, until you fix the thing, no thanks. I am not taking my chances. and if that makes me a coward, so be it. And for anyone suggesting they just need to find the right cart, you people are sick. This is the sort of shit we mean by you're not doing anything but complaining. You want things to be fixed, all the while refusing to see that traditionalism is half the damn problem, but you're not actually getting anything fixed. This is a woman's world. Women want babies, they want marriage, they want a free ride, and god damn it, men are giving it to them left and right, and crying about how bad it hurts as if crying loud enough will get apathetic women to just start caring for some reason. We MGTOW deprive these bitches of their princess class. They get no free ride from us, they don't get their life stream of married with children. The system, the machine, works for women, it is their machine, and we are done fueling their machine with our blood, sweat, tears and sacrifices. We are starving the machine, and if enough men do, it will grind to a halt. When you hear MRAs say things like the sexes are not interchangeable, that's a tradcon. The enemy of men's rights. What does interchangeable mean? What is being expected to be interchanged? The division of labor, that is stay-at-home mothers and stay-at-work fathers. You can't interchange this, can't be equal, can't be different, must be stay-at-home mothers and stay-at-work fathers, because we are not interchangeable. These people, they are traditionalists. They throw men under the bus to preserve their outdated traditionalist views. Any so-called MRA that accepts these enemies of men as an ally are by proxy throwing men under the bus. How many MRAs, who do not also identify as MGTOW, are there that are telling the hijackers and traditionalists to get the fuck out of their movement? What percentage? I said 15 to 20%, and I think that might be really fucking generous. Again, those MRAs who do not also identify as MGTOW, how many of them are rejecting the traditionalists? Do you even think it's as high as 15%? We got people fighting feminism because it is a vicarious assault on statism. We got people fighting feminism because it is a vicarious assault on leftism. We got people fighting feminism because they wish to restore the traditional gender roles. Some because of a nerd's revenge fantasy. Okay, only one guy for that one. How many are actually fighting feminism because they care about men? I don't think there are many, and maybe I should rephrase it, and ask how many MRAs are fighting feminism because they primarily care about men, and are willing to put the men's well-being portion above their secondary reason to fight feminism. I think that's a more fair way of phrasing it. So the allegation that you don't care about men is not a hollow, pointless straw man to discredit your movement. It is a legitimate accusation, a call for you good MRAs out there, to out the traders, and to knock off this "an enemy of my enemy is my friend" mentality. Just because they hate feminism, doesn't mean these people won't throw men under the bus too. It doesn't mean they're not toxic. It doesn't mean they won't ultimately hold you and your movement back. And even though I only showed Matt Forney as an example of the traditionalist being motivated out of sexual dysfunction, I want you to go read those 2 blog posts of his, and then go back and watch part 3 and 4 again of this series where I dissect his statements. I want you to memorize these arguments and his language, and the next time you argue a tradcon, look for Matt's statements popping up in the argument. Look for key phrases like referring to a stay-at-home wife as somehow someway being submissive. Be on the lookout for arguments to return to tradition being based on women's inherent inferiority, and other such arguments related to a male sexual supremacy fantasy. Look for their words exposing their fear, their dislike of women being independent. Look for hints that when they talk of women's independence they are expressing their fear of women leaving their submissive role of being bound to that great male jewelry box called the home. I'm telling you, the bulk of tradcons are just sexually insecure men who have it in their head that paying for a woman and keeping her barefoot pregnant and in the kitchen somehow puts him in charge and places her in a subservient position. The sad thing is, these tradcons just won't get it through their head. These women are not like little children dependent on daddy for protection and provision, who must do as daddy says. They're very intelligent predatory humans who have you on a leash working like a fucking slave and taking all the risks in life, propping them up like servants holding up the chair of their queen and walking her to and from. These men, they're like trained animals at the circus, having themselves convinced that they got these humans trained real good. Hey look, I got this human trained so well, watch this. Hey human, I'm swimming backward, give me a fish. Yeah, good human. Hey woman, I worked all day, make me a tuna sandwich. Good housewife. All the while their wives laugh at what adorable trained animals they are. And this is also what is behind the panic attack these men have at the notion of equality. They say the sexes are not equal, can't have equality, we can't be equal, we're not the same, we're not interchangeable, we can't have equality. This is a statement from men, with fantasy and self-perception of strong dominant male, who are freaking out at the notion that someone is saying women are equal. They are actually coming at this from a position of male superiority. bitching that us dominant males will not give you inferior females equality. Now bow to me, make me a sandwich woman. I need to feel strong right now, so you females better start acting weak, and don't you even think of being self-reliant. I am so insecure I need an ultra-weak submissive woman, because my dick is easily frightened, and my ego easily crushed. Now fix me a sandwich so I can continue to imagine myself being in charge, continue to imagine myself as strong. It's rooted in the fantasy of being the sexually dominant male. Matt Forney's blog posts I showed you were an insight to the mind and rationality of the tradcon male, extreme male insecurity demanding a woman to be even more weak, vulnerable, and insecure, so that he can feel in charge, so he can reaffirm his identity and feel manly. The ultimate beta mentality really. I'm not even asking you to believe that people like Matt Forney make up a significant portion of the tradcon. I'm just telling you that when you engage with them, look for it, just look for it. As for the female tradcon, a domination fetish crossed with laziness and entitlement. I want babies, I want a house, I want 1,000 pairs of shoes. I don't ever want to have to work for any of this. I am entitled to this because my beauty is just that grand. I need a man to pay for my beauty, to stroke my ego and remind me that my beauty is that grand, and I won't hesitate to make him a sandwich or any other simple task to stroke the big dummy's ego and make the silly goose think he's in charge, while I spend all day watching TV, spending his money at the store and knowing I can trade him in if he ever breaks or gets off the leash I got him on. There you have it. The bulk of the men's rights movement being a conglomeration of people bashing feminism, and bashing feminism mostly for any and every reason except that it hurts men, a self-defeating movement standing in its own way. The tradcons and right-wing extremists with their fear of government and change, all bashing feminism, and will not hesitate to throw men under the bus too. They cripple the men's movement by insisting that government never be petitioned, and men must never walk away from their role of disposable utility. These people make it impossible for the men's movement to get off the ground, and the MRAs who aren't in it to restore traditional gender roles or fight for lesser government, won't call out those who are. The men's rights movement will fail because it does not care about men. MGTOW may or may not succeed. It has already been discussed that many MGTOW, I said about half, will walk away from this thing the moment some vagina gives them attention. However, walking away won't actually hurt us, it won't sabotage us, won't hold us back. Caring about men is not in our nature. Men are those people competing with us to get pussy. Every man out there is competition, a cockblocker even. This is our default mentality. Everyone claims to have swallowed the red pill. Very few people have. Dear MRAs who still think you're one of the good ones, rid the toxic MRAs out of your movement. You must place the goal of men's well-being ahead of all other motivations to be a part of this. If you do not, then it's only a matter of time before you act as a roadblock. And to those who won't call these people out, and drive them out of your movement, you are enabling them. And please don't mistake this to mean kick out the married guys. Married men can most certainly fight for the equality of men and boys. I mean kick out those who push marriage, those who on social media like to post pro-marriage material of any kind. It's one thing to have gotten married, it's another thing to promote it as healthy. Men who promote marriage in this movement, do not care about men, they're just right-wing ideologues of some sort. Men who put down MRM efforts to make things better, more fair, for men, on the grounds that it might raise taxes, or that's big government. These people aren't really concerned with what helps men, they're just here to bellyache at feminists because of leftism, statism, socialism, etc. These people will throw men under the bus in the blink of an eye. I want you to call these people out, argue them, out them, kick these toxic pieces of shit out of your movement. They don't care about men, out with them. Throw them out and tell them to go join the feminists and every other group of people who would dare to sacrifice the proper treatment of the male sex, all in the name of serving some ideology. Destroy these ideologues, out them, fight them, reject them, clean up your movement. All the MRAs who push for a return to traditional gender roles, kick them out. They are actively throwing men under the bus with their man up bullshit that silences men, tells them they can't be victims, they got to take it like a man and not play victim Olympics. These people are by far the most toxic, and they hurt you worse than the feminists because they're already in your movement and have MRA followers. At least you know feminists are the enemy. The tradcons are far more a threat to your movement, precisely because you've let them in. I do not exaggerate, I am not using hyperbole, when I tell you it is vital, absolutely vital, that you treat the traditionalist with every bit as much disdain as you treat a feminist, for they are just as hurtful, just as harmful. They silence men. They hold back any progress the movement can make because they are aggressive. They actively encourage men to make bad gynocentric decisions. And for crying out loud, these men who toss men under the bus with every breath they take, are right here in your movement. And everything I just said to the MRAs, This goes for my MGTOW brothers as well. I admitted, I do have a motive of revenge in me. I really do want to smash the privileged princess class, and bring women down to where we are. But I want to make something clear, I fight for men, I care about men. I have long been done with the dating scene. I have even become done with women in all capacities. No dating, no fucking, therefore I can never be false accused of rape. Why do I care so much about false rape accusations? Because I don't want my fellow man accused of it. I care about men. Why the men's rights movement will not succeed? Because they do not care about men. If you want to succeed, start caring about men.